It is Wednesday, right? Wednesday, the 24th of March, and we're here for Joan Yoga. We need a strap today, so if you're home and you use whatever you use for a strap, whether it's a belt or anything else, everybody in here has one. So we actually have a couple of minutes, but start to get comfortable, okay? Let yourself maybe just come into a little quiet place before we actually start class. Just let yourself ease your way into letting your legs do whatever they need to be comfortable in your hips, and if you need to sit up on a blanket, do. But as you close your eyes, just start to take a little survey of your body, really. So see if you can just appreciate how you feel, starting at your feet. And letting yourself just sort of move up through your legs. See how your knees feel, your hips. As you lengthen up, see if you can really allow yourself to feel released across your chest, your upper back, and your arms. Let your arms, you might want to move them around because sometimes the arms go to a different place in order to feel really relaxed. All the way from your hands up through your arms into your shoulders. And then let go of your face. Let your face relax. As your eyes are gently closed, if it helps to just bring your gaze down just a little bit to release a little more through your eyes, around your eyes, and your forehead, across your forehead. And then just start to be with your own breath, watching your breath coming in and going out through your nose. If you can bring your breath into your belly, feeling your belly expand a little bit as you inhale. Without forcing the breath, if you can come into those three parts, inhaling into the belly, into your ribs, and then all the way up into your chest. And as you exhale, imagine the breath coming out of the chest first, and then the ribs, and then the belly. So it's kind of like riding an elevator from the bottom to the top as you inhale. And then riding it back down, starting at the top and coming on back down through the ribs to the belly. And then letting your arms come on out beside you. So if you're on the floor, fingertips can lightly touch the floor out there beside you. We'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down through the midline to rest in front of our chest. And then we'll reverse. Inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now let's inhale our arms forward. Let your palms face each other for a second. So you feel your pinkies facing down, your thumbs up. Spread your fingers out really wide if you can. And then turn your hands the other way so the palms face away from each other and your thumbs are down and your pinkies are up. And then bring one hand on top of the other. Clasp your hands here now. Now the tendency is to lift your shoulders when you do that. Let your shoulders melt down. And then start to lower the hands down. Keep your gaze on your hands here now. Now you can stay with the hands lower, just releasing your neck there. If you feel like continuing to bring the hands down and then up through that hole you created, you can bring your hands up still clasped, maybe even put your forehead down onto your hands. So if you can rest right between your eyebrows on your hands, you can. If not, don't do it. Keep the arms down if you need to. And just breathe. Let yourself release there. Let go through your neck, your upper back. And now we're going to send the hands back down and through if they were up and bring them all the way back forward of your chest. So again, try to keep your shoulders relaxed down. And now we're going to undo our hands and switch and put the other wrist on top. Clasp your hands again. And again, lower the hands down. You may just want to stay right there with the arms long. Or you may want to go ahead and keep going. Hands come on up through that hole you've created. And it's like you turn your hands inside out really kind of. And then rest your forehead if you want on your hands or not. If it's better to keep your hands down and not put your head on there, do. And just breathe, feeling your hands, your wrists, the upper back, your neck. And then we'll send the hands back down and through. And again, bringing the hands on forward, right here forward from your chest. And then let's undo our hands. Bring our arms on out beside us. Lower the hands down to the floor. And then walk our hands back a little bit. If you're in a chair, you can just drape your arms over the back of a chair. If you're on the floor, you can draw your chest forward. Let your shoulders draw back. Open up here through the front of the body. You can go flat to your hands if you'd rather, right? Just be mindful. Let it feel really good to open here through the front body. And then we'll come on back up and let your hands come out beside you. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, let's all twist to our left. So bringing your right hand around, maybe towards your left knee, maybe to the midline. Don't push it. But let yourself feel your right sitting bone drawing down a little bit. Both sit bones in the floor. If you're cross-legged, draw your toes back a little bit and press into the outside edges of your feet into the ground there. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to come on back through center and go all the way around into the other direction. So waking up the spine here in the twist. Again, feeling the feet on the floor, whatever part of your feet are touching really. So one more inhale. And on the exhale, use your belly to bring you on back around into center. And we're going to switch, if we are cross-legged, the cross of our legs. So you can stretch your legs out in between if you need to, bringing yourself into other leg in front. And then float your arms on out, and this time let's just circle our hands around. So let them go in the same direction. And let yourself just release. Try to really isolate there, the wrists, the hands. And then we'll stop, and we'll reverse directions. Good. And then bring your hands into loose fists and do the same thing. Circle in one direction. Try to let yourself, again, it's your hands. You're feeling your wrists, but you're trying to keep your arms fairly still. And then reverse again. Let yourself come the other way. Good. And then bring your arms on down. And let's come a little bit forward. A seated forward bit is up to you. It might be a couple of inches that you come forward. It might be that you want to walk yourself farther out with your hands so that you come farther forward. If you're in your chair, you can separate your feet and kind of fold forward if you want to, even bringing your hands down towards the floor. So be mindful, let it feel good. Once you're a little bit forward, see if you can let your torso just shift a little bit side to side. So not a lot, just enough to feel a little more in your side waists. Good, and then we'll come on back into center. And we'll come all the way on back upright again. Letting your arms come on out beside you here now. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our chest. And let's inhale our hands straight on up through the midline now. And once they're up there, lower just your left arm down. Let your left arm come down. We'll come over into side stretch for the right side. So your left hand can be on the floor, or if you're on your chair, it can be in your lap, or you can let the arm hang. And just breathe into that side you're stretching. Let yourself be easy in your neck. So if moving your head around a little bit feels good, you can. Whether you turn to look down, or draw your chin in a little more towards you, or turn to look up, just be mindful. And then we'll slowly start to rise back up. Lower that right arm down. And let's inhale the left arm all the way out and up. Again, let your right hand give you a little support if you're on the floor there. Coming over into that side stretch. Really feel the sense of space between the ribs on the left side of the body there. Try not to tense your shoulder up though. Let yourself feel space between your left ear and your shoulder there. Again, if your head wants to move a little bit, let it. If your neck feels a little stiff in certain places, just ease your way through. Do what feels like it helps bring most relief, really. And then we're going to rise back up again, letting yourself rise on back up into center. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead again. And on our exhale, bring our hands right down through the midline. Spread your fingers nice and wide once they're there. And actually look down at your hands. Bring them away from your chest a little bit. And then if you can, let your thumbs just come right to plug in, right where they want to go towards your breastbone. And it doesn't matter if it's lower or higher. It's wherever feels really good for your shoulders. Let your gaze come on forward. Let yourself feel that seated mountain pose there, lengthening up through the crown of your head. Good. And then we'll release our arms on down. Shake out just a little bit. And we're going to come around to do some cat-cow on either our hands and knees, or if you don't want to be down on your knees, you know you can use a chair seat, or you can use, if you want, your blocks. If your wrists have issues, you can be any height on your blocks and decide to be on your forearms if you'd rather, or you can try blocks. Sometimes just a little bit of a different height for your hands makes a difference for your wrists too, makes a difference. So find what works. Grab a blanket if you need it for anywhere, under your knees or under your hands. And then just take your time. Let yourself just easily start to move through your cat-cows. If you need to stay in cat or cow and just let your body adjust there for more than a breath or two, do it. Let yourself just be mindful, feeling what's happening in the spine here. So you're warming up all those muscles alongside of the spine, which really kind of help keep your spine in alignment. And it's kind of amazing how every day it can feel brand new, right? So just appreciate, even if you have some places where you're like, oh, man. Flow through just a few more times, because sometimes it starts to feel better and better. Good. And then we'll finish off the one we're on. We'll come on back to a more neutral spine. And now, if you can grab your blocks, you can always use the seat of the chair, but see if you can step your left foot forward. Keep your right knee down for a second, okay? And you can have the blocks, you can have the chair. See about just shifting a little bit with your hips forward so that you still have that back knee down, but you come a little more into the front of the right hip. If this hurts your knee, don't do it. And you can always put a blanket underneath your knee too. So be where you can. Press into the top of the right toes. Some of you might even want to come up higher. So coming up higher puts more into the front of this right hip. So if you want to, you can bring your blocks up higher, or you can put your hand up on your thigh if you want, or just play a little bit. Don't push it. Good. And then we're going to switch. We'll bring that left knee back to the ground or to a blanket, and then step our right foot forward. And again, as you shift your hips a little bit, it might be just a tiny little bit. You might not be able to do that. You have to really be mindful of how it feels. And you can decide about whether you want to come up a little higher on your blocks or not, or bring your hand or your forearm up to your thigh if you want. Press into the top of the left toes back there, which keeps you engaged into the front of that left hip there. Good. And now we're going to come on back again with that right knee. We're going to bring the left foot forward again. This time we're going to curl our toes under and come on up into our lunge where we have the back knee off the floor. It's our usual runner's lunge here. So take your time. Get easy there in the height you are with your hands. If your wrists bother you, try fists on the blocks or come to flat hands or come to fingertips, right? Feel that length in the back of the body here now. Reach into the inner right heel. Feel that length in the inside of your right leg, but also the outside. We're going to switch legs. So however you need to come to that other side. Take your time. Again, remember, it's like you're on very narrow railroad tracks. So you don't want to line your feet up like you're on a tightrope, because that makes it harder on your hips than on your balance. So take your time. Feel the feet in the floor pressing gently away from each other as you zip up your low belly. Good. And then let's step forward and come on into standing forward bend with our feet hips distance apart and parallel. Remember, you use whatever kind of support you need. Hands can be on the chair or the blocks. You can put your elbows above your knees if you like that sense of coming into the length of the low back, but you want to go lower, right? See if you can let your head release, as long as it doesn't bother your back. Now, I know sometimes when you let your head hang, it puts too much into the low back, so don't force it. Give your body time here to adjust. Let yourself follow your breaths in and out. And see if you can feel the ribs expand in all directions when you inhale. Softening through your face, let go of your jaw. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll let our hands come to our hips and bend our knees. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So coming into your mountain pose, if you need to adjust, do. Take your time, get your feet just the distance apart where you feel really good, right? Most of us about hips distance so that your hip pointer bones are kind of lined up with the center of your feet. And then bringing your gaze on forward and out and letting your hands come gently together there. Spread your fingers a little bit, but don't feel like you're tensing your fingers if you can help it. Instead, just let that connection through each of the fingers happen. Whatever part of your palms touch. You're not pressing and tensing up. Instead, it's like your feet are into the floor, but they're not tensing up either, right? So feel the thighs gently lifting upwards, like you're making space in your knees, but you don't want to lock your knees. Feel your shoulders over your hips. So if you can try to let yourself feel like you're stacked up like blocks. Hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. Good. And then let's inhale the hands right on up through the midline. Open the arms to a wide V. Once you get up there, turn your pinkies a little more towards each other. Feel that sense of the arms easily like they're growing out of the back. And if you want to look up, you can. When you inhale, that's up to you and your neck. And on the exhale, we'll bend the knees and fold forward, coming into standing forward bend. On your next inhale, find a nice long flat back. Lengthen out through your spine. And we'll step our right foot back to come into lunge. So take your time, find your lunge here, whatever height you want to be with your hands. Press your feet away from each other, engage the low belly. And let's make our way into a down dog from here. Now your down dog is yours, right? So whether your hands are up higher on a chair or up on the highest height of the blocks, or down lower on a lower height of the blocks or to the floor. Lengthen back through your sitting bones. If you need to walk a little bit, go ahead and bend a knee at a time to adjust your legs a little bit more there. But just enjoy. Think of the back of your head coming into line with your spine. Your elbows are gently hugging in like they're holding a beach ball. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards a plank. And you know, you can put your knees down for this plank and do a half. You can come to forearms. Come into a forearm plank if you'd rather. Feel your sitting bones reaching for your heels. And then we're going to come on back into downward facing dog pose from here. Good. And this time the right foot will come forward to come into lunge. So if you need to put your left knee down to get that right foot forward, do. Take your time, establish your lunge, find that length now in the back of your body. Remember that front knee is bent no farther forward than your ankle. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend again. So you can see your feet, check them out, make sure you don't have one foot turned out and the other one facing forward. Try to get your feet fairly equal and as parallel as you can. And you're more than welcome to come as far as you want into a forward bend. Like if you like to lower your hands to the floor or put your hands on your elbows, go right ahead. Just take your time again to come into your breath. So just being in this pose, just letting the torso be forward, whether you're all the way or you're supporting, you're still allowing the backs of the legs to open up. If you can feel the weight of your head, you're creating more space in your spine. And just let the pose do the work for you. All you need to do is just watch your breaths coming in and going out. Good. And we'll let our hands now come on back up to our hips. Bend our knees, press into our feet equally as we rise up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And let's unfold our arms on down beside us. Clasp our hands behind us. Let your hands come down so your arms are fairly straight. You know, don't lock your elbows. Don't lock like that. But let yourself be fairly straight with your arms. Feel the belly engaging here. Now, you can tell where your tailbone is because of where your hands are. So you don't want your tailbone to curl up under you. Reach the tailbone back and down towards between your heels. And then as you exhale, bend your knees and come forward to where you're like a tabletop, flat and parallel to the floor. And from here, if it's possible, let your elbows hug upward a little bit towards the ceiling so your heart melts down a little bit. One more breath there. And now if you want to continue coming forward, you can. You can keep your hands behind you. If you need to put your hands down or your forearms onto your knees, do. Some of you might want to bring your arms off your back here. So if you can do that. You can let the arms come off the back. If your shoulders won't let you, don't do it. And then we'll release, letting our arms come on down. On your next inhale, find a nice long flat back. Your hands can give you support on your shins. They can be on the blocks. They can be on the chair. This time, left foot will step back to come into lunge. So press the feet away from each other again. Draw your shoulders down. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. So again, your height. If your hands are up on a chair, you're more like, kind of like the shape of a letter L, right? The lower the hands go, right? The different angle in your shoulders is different for everybody. You may decide you want your feet farther back if your hands are lower. You may not. So elbows hug in. Let yourself reach back equally through your sitting bones so you feel equal through the sides of your body. And next inhale will bring us out again towards a plank, or again, you can come to forearms if you'd rather. You can put your knees down and do a half plank. If you want to bend your elbows a little bit, you can do even little push-ups if you want. Take your time. And then we're going to make our way back again into down dog. And this time, left foot comes forward into lunge. So again, if you need to put the right foot down to get there, do. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. And go right where it feels best for you. And that could be anything, right? You might want to use support. You might want to put your hands to a different place, behind your legs or up on your back. Or, some of you might want to put your hands under your toes. You can always slip your fingers under your toes if you want. And just be mindful of feeling those nice, easy breaths. And just
considering that your inhales and your exhales are equally important. And then we'll let our hands come on back up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees, press into our feet, rise on up, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms back down beside us. Inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, we're going to come forward again. Keep that long back, and then once you fold over, you can put your hands where you need. Let your next inhale give you a long spine again. And we're going to walk into down dog from here. So you put your hands the height you like to be. Walk your way back. Hug your elbows in. And on the next inhale, we can come on out to plank. And again, you can do whatever version of this you want. Stay in plank. You can go through for a back bend. You can go down to the floor if you want and come into a sphinx or a cobra. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. So again, remember these are total optional, these back bends. So you can come out to plank, you can move through to a back bend, or adjust accordingly, right? You can come down and do child's pose anytime you want. Let yourself come into where you feel good to be. And then we'll make our way again back into down dog. And let's bring the right foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend. Nice, full breaths. If any of you want to hold your elbows, go for it. If you know that's certainly not good for your back, don't do it. But allow yourself to find those little spaces between your breaths. So just feel, when you inhale, feel that little space at the end of your inhale before you exhale. And the same thing at the end of your exhale, that little space or pause before you inhale. And from here, we'll let our hands come on back up to our hips, bend our knees, and press into our feet to rise up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, lower your left arm down. Let yourself reach up through the right side of the body here. And we're going to come over into side stretch. Now, let your left hand actually connect to the outside of your left leg. Your palm is in towards your leg. And now from here, bend both your knees just a little bit, but equally. So try to imagine that both your knees are bent equally. And then press into the feet. Let yourself come straighter as you rise on back up to standing. And we're going to switch arms. Right arm comes down, left arm comes up. Right hand is connected. Slide that right hand down just a little bit, and then you're into your side stretch. Keep the hand just gently coming into the outside of your right leg. And then bend both your knees a little bit. Try to feel as equal as you can when you bend them. And then we'll rise on back up. Our legs come longer again. And then bend your elbows. Bring your hands to meet right in front of your chest. Coming into your mountain pose. If you need to adjust around a little bit, do. Shift if you need to. But just enjoy now. See if you can. Bring your awareness to your breath and imagine you're inhaling up the front of your body. The breath goes over the top of your head and you exhale down the back of your body. And that your inhales and exhales are fairly equal in length. Just allowing the breath really to help you feel balanced in your body. And then we'll unfold both our arms on down beside us and shake out. Move around, do whatever you need to. We're going to come into some warrior poses. I'm turning my chair around. So if you need a chair, you might want the back facing you. But have your blocks handy too. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into warrior two. Left foot forward, right foot back. We're going to line our heels up, and then we're going to bend that left knee a little bit. Now, if you can, keep your hands down for a second, whatever's comfortable for you really. And then watch your right knee when you bend it, okay? And then straighten it and watch it as you come into a straighter leg too. So bending that knee, think of it coming over the center of the foot so you can look down and see your big toe, your second toe at least, right? And then when you straighten it, think about the knee still staying in that line. Now that's not always easy. Our knees don't always want to do that. Sometimes they want to come inward, sometimes they want to come outward, and there's not always a lot of control you can do, but if you're aware of like what your knee does when you bend it, it's a good thing. And then take your time, bend the knee one more time, and think about keeping that knee lined up. And we're going to float the arms on up and out, straight out from the shoulders, a tad bit higher. Let your shoulders soften down. Look out over the top of your left hand. And feel your feet equal in the floor here now. Now see if you can keep just where you are with everything except your head's going to turn, and you're going to just turn to look like forward of your body, just like straight beside you really. And now when you think of turning the head back to look over your left hand, think length in the back of your neck and your throat as you turn to look back over that hand. Good. We're going to put the right hand down on our right hip, and we're going to straighten the left leg out. And we're going to bring the left hand down for a triangle pose. Now you may want it up high. You may want it up on your thigh, up on your chair back. You might want to slide the hand down a little bit towards triangle or use a block. Remember, you've got those blocks. You can even put 2 blocks stacked and put your hand on 2 blocks if that feels better, whether they're behind or in front of your leg. And then draw your right shoulder up for a second. Just keep your right hand down on your hip. Lengthen out through your spine. And you can keep the right hand down totally if you want, or you can stretch the right arm straight up from your shoulder in your triangle with your palm facing towards the long edge of your mat. If that bothers your shoulder, just keep your hand down. Good. Nice length through both sides of the body. We're going to bend the left knee and come on back into warrior two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. And now bring your hands down. We're going to find lunge again. So you may want to just have your blocks right there under your hands or your chair. Turn your right heel directly behind you. Adjust your stance however you need to get into that lunge. And then keep your right hand down. Bring your left hand to your left hip, and we're going to roll that left shoulder up and come on into that twist here in our lunge. So hand can stay on your low back. You're making sure you're not dropping into that right hip. Or you can stretch the arm up if you want to. Depends on your shoulder. Just be mindful. Let it feel good. Lengthen out through the top of your head as you reach back into that inner right heel. Good. And then we'll bring that hand on back down. We're going to straighten the front knee out. And let the right heel just go directly behind your foot. So not into pyramid. Just let it release directly behind it. It might be off the floor. It might be on the floor. But the front leg is straight. See about looking at your left foot there and lift your toes up. Feel the four corners of your feet down into the floor. Spread the toes out a little bit. And then bring the toes on back down. Just admire your foot for another breath. And then bend your left knee. Come into your lunge again. And we are going to step forward from here and come on into our feet right underneath us, standing forward bent. Let your knees soften and let your body, your torso, keep the hands grounded, whatever on, the floor or the blocks, and let your torso just shift a little bit from side to side. So it's kind of like you're just swaying your upper body a little bit. Legs can be bent, they can be straighter, just make sure you're not locking your knees. And then gradually come on back into center. And we'll press into our feet here as we bend our knees, rise on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. So once you're in your mountain pose, imagine the air around you is supporting you really. And you come into that feeling of where it's very effortless, right? Once you are aligned, once you're tailbone is dropping down, your pelvis is aligned. The body really naturally wants to find itself into a good alignment. So hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. And then we'll go ahead and let our arms come on down beside us. Shake out a little bit, roll around if you need to. We're going to do the other side. So we'll step the left foot back this time for warrior two. And again, have your blocks handy. And you know, if you have never used blocks for triangle pose, if you stack your blocks up, they can go both to the highest height, or, you know, the top one can be lower, the bottom one can be lower, whatever. But you might want to try it, especially if you feel like you're struggling a little bit to have your hand down on your leg. But once you get your feet set for your warrior two, keep your hands down, look at your right knee bent, and then do this straightening and bending thing, right? So come into straighter leg, watch the knee as you do, and bend it again a few times. And really take your time. Let yourself see what your knee is doing. So for me, on this side, my knee wants to go inward when I straighten. So I just kind of encourage trying to use the muscles around the knee to try to get it more into alignment, right? Knees are funny things, aren't they? So finish off where the knee is bent again. You're in your warrior two legs. Check out your knee placement. And then start to bring your arms on up and out and release just a tiny bit higher than your shoulders with your hands. Let your shoulders melt down. You're looking out over the top of that right hand. Feel like you're shooting sparks out through your fingertips, which almost makes you want to go whoosh, you know, it makes you just want to reach out further. And then slowly turn your head to look more towards the long edge of your mat. And what we're going to concentrate here on is when we turn back. Think of length in the back of your neck and your throat. And then slowly turn your head back to look out over the top of that right hand. Nice. We're going to lower the left hand down. So the placement of the head, such a big deal. Straighten the right leg out and bring your right hand down for triangle. So for me, if I use the blocks behind my leg like this, I can put a little support. I can squeeze my thighs upward. And I can either keep my hand down on my hip, left hand, or I can look out to the long edge of the mat and stretch my arm up if I want, yeah? Sometimes being up higher in triangle almost makes you work harder than being down lower, just saying. Thighs lifting up towards the hips. Imagine you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. We're going to bend the right knee. We're going to come on back into warrior two, which is a lot of core work, just to rise back up from there. Good. And our hands are going to come down, and we're going to find our way into lunge here. Some of you can get your blocks or your chair underneath your hands do. Let your left heel release directly behind you. You can be any height. And then we'll bring our right hand to our right hip. We're going to roll that right shoulder up, right hand down onto the sacrum. Try to keep your hips fairly level. And then you can decide if you want to stretch that arm up. Palm again faces out towards the long edge of your mat. And if not, keep your hand down. Enjoy. The twist is in the middle of the back, especially if you're really careful not to drop too far into this long leg side, right? That's a different story. And then we'll bring our hands on down. We're going to straighten the front leg out. Now once you get there, look back at your left foot. See that the heel is going directly behind your foot. And once you're set up there, look at your right foot there in front of you and lift your toes up. See if you can feel the four corners of the feet. The base of the big toe mound, the base of your little toe mound, and your inner and outer heel right there at the base of the arch of your foot, right? And then spread the toes out if you can. Sometimes they don't want to do that. And then let the toes release softly back down to the floor. And we'll bend the front knee to come into lunge again. And from here, let's step forward and get our feet right underneath us into standing forward bend. Easy, full breaths. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise up and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down as the top of the head reaches upward, coming into mountain pose. Already feeling much stronger, feeling all parts of the body really warm and ready to go here. And then we'll release and let our arms come on down again. Good. And this time, we're going to have your blocks forward if you need them. We're going to come to the front edge of our mat. And we're going to come into Warrior One, stepping the right foot back. So make it like a pretty comfortable step. Now sometimes, just 1.5 feet is enough. Sometimes you get there and you're like, I just want a little more feeling right in the front of that hip. So you might want to step farther back. And you might want to have your feet a little apart like you're on narrow railroad tracks, right? So that when you come around with your shoulders to the front of the mat, it's easy. You feel like this back heel just does just what it wants to be comfortable in your knee, your ankle, your foot, and all the way up into this inner thigh. So from here, fold your left arm behind you for a second. It can be just hand on the sacrum, or you can put your lower arm all the way onto your low back. And inhale your right arm forward and up. Let yourself bring your gaze up a little bit if you can. And it doesn't matter whether the arm is by your ear or forward. That depends on your shoulder. Lift your gaze up a little bit if possible, though. Feel that uplift in the front of the body. And then release your left arm down, and we're going to rise it up as well. So coming into your Warrior One, arms can be directly overhead, or arms can be more in a wide V, if that feels better for your shoulders. So feel that lift as you inhale up the front of the body, exhale down the back of your body. Feet equal in the floor. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms on down. And we're going to turn to face the long edge of our mat with feet wider than our shoulders. How much wider is up to you. And then if you need your blocks for your wide-legged forward bend, grab them as you come on down. Let your hands come either to floor or the blocks. And then go ahead and take your time to bend a knee at a time so that you really easily let your legs start to adjust into this pose. Remember, we're attempting to be pretty parallel with our feet. I know some people's hips really don't like that, so if you need to turn your toes out a little bit, do. If you're real flexible in this pose, you can turn a little pigeon-toed. You can turn your toes inward. So come on back into center now. Let yourself lengthen out through your spine. So I like my hands on blocks, but you can use the floor for your hands. Let yourself come into a flatter back. And then just bring your right hand to your right hip and roll that shoulder up a little bit. So we're flat here on our sacrum. We're finding that twist in the middle of our backs. And then we're going to bring our right hand back down. And we're going to switch. Left hand is going to come up. And you're going to roll up again into that little bit of a twist. Good. And then come on back down with your hand again. And now take your time. We're going to come into finding a way where we can release into this pose without feeling stressed, right? So obviously you're standing up. You're going to use your feet, your legs, your hips. But you want to try to let go as much as possible in your upper body. And for some of us that means using support so that we don't put any kind of stress in the low back. Some of you are fine to fold more forward and let your head hang to where the top of the head is just really coming down towards the floor. So watch your breath, in and out. Easily accepting that breath. Soft through your face and your jaw. One more full deep breath. And from here, to make your way up, we're all different. So you can bring your hands to your thighs. You can, if you need to, let your feet come closer together before you rise up. And then if you're dizzy and you need to keep your feet apart, do, or hold on to something if you got something there. That's why I like to have a chair handy. All right, we're going to do the other side. So So coming forward towards the front edge of your mat again. And this time left foot steps back for that warrior one. So you're squaring to the front edge of your mat. Again, your feet might want to go a little farther the wide way apart. Get good feeling in your hips as you bring that left shoulder around and you're square here to the front of your mat with your shoulders. And then just release, let your arms come on down and fold your right arm behind you. So as your right arm folds behind you, draw your left shoulder forward so that it's really easy to rise that left arm forward and then up overhead. So you can look up a little bit. Let yourself feel that lift at the base of your shoulder blades. And then release that right arm down as well so that it can join the left arm up there overhead. So draw your pinkies towards each other. You know, arms can be more forward than your shoulders if you need to. Or you can bring the arms back by your ears. Feel that lift in the front of the body, that flow down the back of your body. Good. One more breath. And then we'll release our arms on down. We are going to turn again to face the long edge of the mat for a wide-legged forward bend. So again, make your way forward. Actually, at first, see if you can bend your knees and put your elbows above your knees so that you're really lengthened out. And your hands can just, you can clasp your hands there at center or touch your fingertips together. Just reach back through your tailbone, have that length. Good. And then go ahead and release your hands down, whatever you like to use, a block or the floor. And let's bring ourselves over to the right. Either shift your hands on the block a little to the right or maybe walk over towards your right foot. Take a couple of breaths there. Let yourself adjust. And then we'll come back to center and we'll go to the left. So again, you might just want to shift your block a little bit. Keep your hands on it, or you might want to go ahead and walk towards your foot. And then we'll come on back into center. And once you're here, again, adjust to where you're comfortable. Blocks can be kind of fun. You can put your forearms up onto blocks to keep length. You can put your head on a block. If you feel like when you hang your head it's a little too much, sometimes just using a block underneath your head keeps your back at a comfortable place. So just play. You can hold your ankles, you can have your hands between your feet, you can use the hands or forearms for support. But then just come to those breaths again. That's the importance of feeling the breaths all the way through. So keeping your awareness on your breath all the way through your inhales, all the way through your exhales. More nice full breath. And to rise up again, whatever works for you to let yourself come up comfortably and bring yourself again, feet underneath you. Walk around a little bit, move through your feet and your ankles if you need to. And let's do this. Let's leave our mats right where they are. But we're going to walk to a wall and put our hands on a wall. You don't need to be on a mat. So you two are fine, you two are fine. So Susan, I think actually, Helen, you can walk forward to the fan and Susan can come back to that wall, right? Yeah. How does that feel? I think it's pretty far apart. We're just going to do a little tree pose. We'll put our left hand on the wall. So letting yourself come into standing on your left foot. And look at your left foot for a second. Just make sure you're not really turning your toes way towards the wall. It's okay to have a little bit of turn out if that's better for your hips. So that when you bring the right foot in, either to the heel to the inner ankle with your toes on the floor, or bringing the foot into the inside of your calf, below your knee there, Or some of you might want to reach down with your hand and pull your foot way up high into your inner thigh. Just remember, you don't want to push your foot into the inside of your knee. And then just play a little bit. Let yourself just enjoy. Feel the foot coming into the inside of the inside of the leg coming back into your foot. And then you can bring your hands to your heart. You can stretch your arms all the way up overhead if you want. Wide V is fine. You know, if you're in a wide V, your fingertips of your left hand can actually touch the wall maybe and give you a little support. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall down, then put your foot down, readjust, maybe try again. And then we're going to come on down with our hands. Face the wall and put your hands on the wall. Cross your left ankle above your right knee like you're in a figure four. And then just bend your right knee a little bit. That'll release the hip, the left hip you're standing on. So if you're kind of locked up or tensing up a little bit, which we all do a little when we balance, let's face it. Just try to let that go a little. And then we'll come on back up. We're going to turn right hand to the wall. And we're going to stand on our right foot, supporting foot. And again, take a look. Make sure you're not really overly turning that foot out. And then bring either left heel to the inside of your ankle. Or bring the foot up into your calf so that you kind of have, it's almost like your foot, when you're in that calf, it's almost like it just melds right into your calf there, right? Again, you can play hands to the heart. You can bring the arms up overhead. You can let that right hand kind of let the wall help you by touching lightly there and still feeling that sense of growing up out of that grounded, rooted right foot. Thus the tree pose. And you know, trees sway a little in the wind, right? So you don't want to try to lock yourself into a tree pose. Good. And then when you're ready, let yourself come down, turn to face the wall, put both hands on the wall again, cross your right ankle above or below your knee if you have to. Bend the left knee a little bit, then your hips shift back and you can release that hip. You know, if your hands bother you, just lower your hands down, put fists on the wall if you need to, fingertips, whatever works. And then we'll come on back up. We're going to turn back left shoulder to the wall. From here, get really close. So your left shoulder is touching the wall, really. And then bring your right arm out and up overhead. And see about, just lean into the wall with the left side of your head. Right? So the head is supported on the wall. See if your right fingertips then can come all the way into the wall. Your elbow can bend. And if this bothers your shoulder, don't do it. Keep your right hand down. You can still get a nice side stretch just by tilting your head into the wall there. So breathe into that right side of the body. And then we're going to rise up, lower the right arm down if it was up, and let's inhale the left arm up so the hand is up on the wall. That inside hand is on the wall. Now again, I know this is hard for some shoulders. If you have to step away from the wall, do. If you need to bring your hand forward instead of directly up, you have to adjust for whatever your shoulder allows you to do. And then see if you can bend your left elbow and bring your left hand down somewhere behind your head or maybe to the top of your head, maybe behind your neck, maybe to your upper back. And put your right hand behind you, turn your palm up and let it be down there on your low back. Now if you want to think about bringing your hands closer together on your back, you can. That is totally up to you. You know, this is really a actually deeper sometimes for people's bottom shoulder than your top shoulder, but just be mindful because it is an unusual position to have your hand back there behind you like that. One more breath. And then release, step away from the wall so your arms can just come right on down and then swing the arms back and forth a little bit. Just back and forth and back and forth. Let your shoulders go. Good. And then we're just going to turn around. And we're going to get close to the wall again so that we can lean our head, right side of your head into the wall and you're supported.
So you're just leaning and letting the wall support you. Let it feel good. So you can just keep your left hand down. If you have shoulder things happening that don't allow you to rise the arm up, just stay here and breathe into your left side. Or you can rise the left arm up and put the fingertips on the wall, either a little bit in front of you or directly over your head. And then you can just breathe again into that side. And again, if your shoulder hurts, you keep the hand down and use the breath. The breath can do a whole lot without a physical adding of something here, right? So breathing into the left side of the body. And then as we come up, we're going to lower that outside left arm down. And now the inside right arm. Again, if you can bring it up, do. Once you get it up there, if it hurts, don't do it. If you can bend your right elbow and put your hand somewhere, maybe behind your head or your neck or your upper back. Think about your elbow as much as possible rising up towards the ceiling, but it might be forward, and that's okay. Left hand behind you, palm can face out. You can rest the hand on your low back. And of course, if you like, trying to think about your hands coming together. Remember, this is a good one to do at home with a towel. Like, you can hold a towel in your hands. You can use a strap too, of course. Towel is kind of softer, and you can hold a towel like this. It will change your shoulders if you actually do this exercise really regularly. So keep your gaze forward. Try not to look down and round that upper back. Try to imagine you're breathing in and out through your heart. Good. And then we're going to step away from the wall and lower our arms on down. Good. And again, from here, swing your arms back and forth and back and forth. Let it feel easy. Good. And we're going to come back to our mats, and we're going to sit. And if you need a blanket to sit on, by all means do, and get your strap so that we can use our straps here. So coming on down, and get your strap so that you can stretch your right leg out long and bring the strap across the ball of your foot. So be mindful, take your time, just kind of get the strap to where you're really got it across the base of your big toe mound and your little toe mound. And then once you get there, see about switching hands with your strap. So you make like this X right at your foot, right? Now this left leg, man, this is the other thing. If you need some support, if this knee bothers you or your hip, put support underneath your leg. You can put the foot lower. You get same thing as in tree pose. The foot can be down low or it can be up high. You can have support of any kind. And then press into the ball of the foot there. Feel your heel coming down onto your mat. And you're pushing into the strap. So you are engaged both in the back and the front of your leg. So that when you do bend your elbows to bring yourself a little forward with a long back, man, you can feel it, but you can also feel that you're protecting yourself by engaging your leg. So if your back bothers you, come up a little bit when you inhale and let yourself maybe come forward and back with your breath a little bit. Sometimes if you do that little bit of movement, sometimes you get to a point where you can go, oh, I can stay here. It feels good. So if not, don't do it. Come back out of the forward bend a little bit if you need to and keep trying to come a little back into it. Or stay in the forward bend if you're good there. Let yourself just close your eyes, be with your breath. Feel that heel down so you feel your leg really engaging, but you're getting a stretch in the back of your leg. And of course, in the left hip where the knee is bent, you're also getting a stretch. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly let ourselves rise on back up. And you can uncross the strap because we're going to switch feet in it. So let yourself bring that other left foot in. And again, as you bring the right leg up, if you need some support, if you need to, you can keep this leg long.
right? Don't add anything into the knee or the hip that feels really uncomfortable. So once you get the strap across the ball of the foot, make that X, switch hands with your strap, and feel your heel. Again, drawing down to the mat, back towards you, so your thigh is tight, and the back of your leg is also engaged. So that when you do, think about bending your elbows and bringing yourself a little bit forward. You can feel that you're coming into a stretch for your hamstring, but if you feel it too much in your back and you need to move a little bit forward and back too, sometimes it feels really good just to let yourself move, inhaling your way up and exhaling your way forward. And of course, if you get forward, if you're the forward bend to you feels really good, you can go ahead and stay in your forward bend, let yourself release here. And again, keep pressing a little bit into that strap with the ball of your foot. Try not to tense up your shoulders or your hands. I know that's really hard. The hands and coming into strap is really often really hard to not tense up into your hands, your shoulders. Keep following your breath all the way in and out. One more breath. And we're going to slowly make our way back up. Now, just for fun, uncross your strap. Bring both your feet in and bend your knees. And you kind of have to adjust to get your feet into the strap here now, right? Now, as you bring your heels out a little further, you've got the strap across the feet, you got your feet kind of together. We can think about coming into a little boat pose with the help of the strap, right? Now, if you lift your feet up and you let yourself lean back a little bit, keep your hands in close to your legs, and you feel like, oh my gosh, this does not feel good to my back, don't do it, right? You can keep your heels down. You can let yourself lean back a little bit there and not even lift the feet up, and that is using the core of the body. Or you can bring the feet on up. Now, some of you might even want to stretch them up higher and higher. Let yourself hold on with the strap. Whoa, just be mindful not to roll back, which I almost did. So what wants to happen is your tailbone wants to curl forward, which will make you roll back on your back. So instead, send your tailbone down a little bit. Let yourself feel your belly, your low back working. Take your time too, you know. Good. Oh, wow, you guys. On it. One more breath. And then let your feet come on down. Good. Take your strap on off. Put it on off to the side. And before you even think about it, try a little boat pose without that strap. Hold behind your thighs. Let yourself bring your feet up. Hug yourself in a little bit towards your thighs. And maybe you don't even want to let go. If you don't, don't. If you feel like you want to kind of stretch one leg at a time long, that's kind of fun to do in boat pose. You can let that happen. Or you can think about both legs coming long and hug yourself in or let go. Hold up higher on your legs if you want to, right? So play. Just a little bit. Good. And then come on down. Let's bring the soles of the feet towards each other and come into either feet out farther for Baddha Konasana. But come a little bit forward to release your hips and your back. All right? And it might not be far. It's up to you. How close you have your heels in towards you is up to you too. You can have a bigger space or smaller. Yes, good. Let yourself release. Good. And then come on back up. You might want to use your hands to get your knees on back up. Stretch your legs out. And take your blocks. And we're going to come down onto the floor. But before you do, put your blocks down by your feet. And you want your blocks to have like, I don't know, 3-4 inches apart. And then the lowest height, because we're going to put our feet on them. Now, we're going to try a little bridge pose like this, so you can decide. I like my feet, a little bit farther apart than Mountain, probably at least 3 or 4 inches wider, but that's up to you. But your feet are pretty parallel. And then I like to hang my heels off the end of the block so they don't slip, right? And then how close you get your bottom down towards the blocks before you come down, man, you probably won't know till you lift up. But once you come down onto your back, you've got your feet on those blocks, you can kind of just, at first, do a couple of little pelvic tilts, feel the feet, and if you already feel like, well, that doesn't feel good, then maybe you want to switch how far you are away from the blocks, right? You might want to get closer or farther away. Just the thought of lifting up into bridge pose might tell you. So bring your arms down alongside you and bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Let your palms face each other and press down into the backs of your arms here. Feel how your chest rises up. You can roll your shoulders under more. And then maybe you can lift your hips up higher, up off the floor. Once you get up into bridge, if it feels wrong, again, come down and see if you can be closer to or farther from the blocks, right? You do not want to feel bridge pose. This is usually a higher bridge pose with your feet on blocks. You do not want to feel it in your back. You want to feel that length in the front and the back of the body. So if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. You come down, take your feet off the blocks if you want. You know that. So you can move up and down in this bridge. You can stay up there. You can stretch your legs down long if you would rather too. So just enjoy, take your time, play around a little bit. If you need to come down, you all know, do it, and you bring your knees in towards your chest once you do come down. And then, once you come down, bring your knees in, roll around a little bit. Let yourself release there. And then, allow your body to do whatever it needs to do right now. So you've done little easy twists with the knees side to side. If you think another twist of any kind sounds like a good idea, then by all means, let yourself come into a twist, or maybe a happy baby pose, or maybe you want to let yourself bring your feet up in the air and do some cross-country skiing moves on the ceiling. I mean, there can be any number of things that your body is kind of really just craving. So at the studio here, I'm getting lights, and then I'm going to walk around to, as people here settle in towards Savasana. So, don't get up. Those of you here, you know me, I'll be around. It might take me a little bit, but I'll come around and bring you. Got it. Bring you if you need bolster for underneath your knees. If you'd like to have a blanket and you don't have one, let me know. Remember, I take home all this stuff, wash it, sanitize the best we can. Oh,
Did it by myself today.
I don't know what to do. So wave at me. I'm walking around. I have a bolster in my hands because somebody got the rule. I don't know what to do. So let me know if you need something, and even if just your feet are cold, remember, blanket can feel good. Just allow yourself to melt down now. So So accepting your breaths in and out. And if counting your breaths helps, you can count. You can inhale 1, exhale 2, inhale 3, exhale 4, etc. Sometimes that little bit more of a focus helps people. Or a word, thinking a word when you inhale, a different word or mantra when you exhale. But just give yourself the gift of these few minutes, giving your body and your brain the opportunity to find these little quiet places. It's kind of like you just get out of your own way, trusting that your body knows what to do with what you just did. And let yourself completely and fully relax.
of just receiving your breaths in and out. And let your fingers and your toes, when they start to feel like wiggling, let them wiggle around and move up into your hands and your feet when you're ready. You might even want to let your hands and feet circle around a little bit, moving into your ankles and into your wrists. Let your arms and legs do whatever they need to do once you come up into moving up into the body. Take your time, stretching, bending. Be easy. You know you're welcome to stay there on your back. You're welcome to roll onto either your right or your left side if you're comfortable to do that. Just be mindful. Let yourself take the time you need so you don't feel rushed. You feel almost like you have all the time in the world, really. That way, when you do feel like coming up to sitting, you feel like you're ready to get your head again up above your heart, ready to sit comfortably where you can feel that length of your spine. You can let your eyes stay closed or close them gently again once you get up there so that you can enjoy feeling the crown of the head reaching upward and the sitting bones reaching down. And on your next exhale, bring your hands gently to meet there in front of your heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. One more Wednesday to go this month, right?